Property Tribes TV coming to you from Norwich, and today I'm really delighted to welcome somebody who I feel has given so much value to the Property Tribes Forum and such a great contributor, and that is the lovely Tessa Shepperson of landlordlaw.co.uk. So Tessa, it's lovely to meet you because we first met on Twitter, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yes, and we've talked on Property Tribes and tweeted each other, so it's really nice to see you. It's great.
Finally meet in person.
Yep, in lovely Norwich, which
Indeed.
is such a great place.
So let's talk about Landlord Law, because you've got a very unique little business model there, haven't you, that's doing very well. Could you explain a little bit the history of the company and how it serves landlords?
Yeah, well, I'm a solicitor, and I was in private practice in Norwich, and I decided to set up on my own because I'm a bit of an independent-minded person and I quite wanted to do my own thing. So it's just me and the cat then, so I set up in my front room, and I had a normal solicitor's practice, and I did legal aid work, and then I decided to stop doing legal aid and just concentrate on the landlord work. So this was the end of the 90s, and I was fascinated by the internet. I've always been interested with the internet, and I thought I'd like to go online and have a website. So I had a little website which was really just to get landlord work, and it had a Q&A page on it where I'd answer people's questions. And I began to realise that a lot of people really didn't know what their rights and obligations were. So I thought, well, why don't we have a place where people can go and find out those answers? They pay me to get to it, so it's worth my while to develop the site. And it's a sort of, find things out for themselves, so they haven't got to put a suit on and go to a solicitor. They can just find the answers just for a modest fee. So I checked out to see whether people would pay, and they said they would. So I set up the first Landlord Law in November 2001, which was quite a long time. So I was quite an early...
I was going to say, you were ahead of your time in a way.
That's right, yeah. Solicitors have never understood what I'm doing. They think it's a bit odd. So Landlord Law launched then, and it's sort of grown with the internet, and I've done all sorts of things. Some of the things have worked, some of the things haven't. I'm always experimenting. Because I'm interested in technology, and I'm interested in the delivery of legal services online and different ways of doing it. And then last year my web designer and I felt that we probably needed to have a new site, because the Landlord Law site, it had been very good, but it was getting a bit tired. So last year we spent a lot of last year building a complete new site, which is built in the open source software Drupal, which is the same software that the White House website is built in, which is quite nice. And that launched at the end of December.
Brilliant.
So we've got a new site now.
So how does your site serve landlords, and how do they interact with it?
Well, there's quite a bit of free information, so landlords might start by using the free information. For example, we've got a which tenancy agreement trail. So if somebody is not quite sure what sort of tenancy agreement they need for their particular letting, they can go through the question and answer and work out which one would be suitable. So there is a certain amount of free stuff there, but obviously I want them to subscribe because I need to earn a living.
Of course.
So if they join Landlord Law as a landlord member, what they get is information, frequently asked questions, which are based on questions that people have actually asked me on the Q&A that I was telling you about. We've got a new tenancy agreement software generator, which they can use to generate lots of different types of tenancy agreements, because different tenancies operate in different ways.
Indeed.
And maybe they've got 4 students renting a property together, or maybe they rent out the rooms individually. Maybe they want one with a guarantor. Quite a few landlords want an agreement where they pay the bills, and they want it set up like that. So we've got all sorts of different types of agreements. We've also got one for pets as well. If a landlord allows the tenant to keep a pet, there's a special agreement for that, where they can record details of the pet, of the vet, and things like that. And it's got special clauses about how they should treat the pet and so on. So that's quite a big thing with Landlord Law.
So really it's a fantastic resource for landlords to access what they need to understand with regards to their rights and obligations for a modest price without having to go to a solicitor every time. So.
And they can access the paperwork. I mean, there's tenancy agreements is the big. There's also possession notices,
right,
with instructions on how to use them. Inventory form, all sorts of. There's a letters service as well. I can do letters, and they can fill them in using the document generator software. and print them off.
Fantastic. And it's not just for UK landlords, is it? You can help landlords from all over the place.
Well, I do have landlords all over the world, but it has to be English property.
English law,
because
yes.
I'm an English solicitor, so I don't know what the legal system is in Canada or Australia or Italy, but I have had landlords who live in all of those places, but it's about their British property.
Of course, yes.
And it's very, very convenient for them. I mean, if you're an expat landlord living in Germany, it's a bit difficult for you to go to a firm of solicitors in London, but they can access my service quite easily.
Brilliant.
Another thing about the service is the forum. There's a forum area, members forum, and lots of people ask questions, and I check it out every day.
And just networking.
Do answers, yeah. Yeah, I quite like doing little answers and advice for people, so it's great, yeah.
Brilliant. So, just to finish up then, landlords do have obligations to tenants.
Oh, yes.
And there's many issues where they have to dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yes.
To put it in a just a basic manner. You're obviously wanting to help educate landlords.
Absolutely.
That this is the safest way to operate a business.
That's right. Well, it's protect themselves really. I mean, if the landlord complies with all the regulations and does everything properly, then to a certain extent they're protected. I mean, if the tenant wants to bring a claim against them, they won't succeed because they've done it all properly. I mean, for example, with tenancy deposits, if you haven't got a tenancy agreement and the tenant leaves the property in a mess, it's going to be very difficult to deduct that money from your deposit, because the first thing you need is the proper tenancy agreement. If the property is in a good condition and you comply with all your legal obligations for the condition of the property, then if the tenant doesn't pay their rent and you want to bring proceedings to evict them for rent arrears, they can't bring a counterclaim saying that they're entitled to compensation for disrepair, because there is no disrepair. So it's worth it for landlords to comply with all the regulations. There are quite a lot of them.
Oh, I know, and they get more every day, don't they?
I know.
Well, Tessa, it's been lovely speaking to you, and on behalf of the landlord community, I'd like to thank you for all the support that you've offered on the social web, because I see you on Twitter, you're always helping people on Property Tribes, and I have also benefited from your wise words.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, lovely to talk to you. That's Tessa Shepperson of landlordlaw.co.uk. You can see her on her site, or you can chat to her on Twitter or Property Tribes, and I hope you've enjoyed this Property Tribes TV interview. Thanks, Tessa.